people, my name is Janaína. I'm 34 years old. I'm from Brazil and living in Norway now. So today's video I want to talk about my experience with racism. That's about one topic that I've been talking on a group from Denmark, and it came up that it was a white man talking about, from Brazil, talking about that he doesn't see much racism in Denmark, and homophobic, but I want to keep talking about racism. I have a little bit to talk about homophobia, but this is for another video. So that I want to talk about my experience with racism. I am from Brazil, as you all know, I just said it. In there, it is great racism. It's just the culture interferes differently. What I see, I never been to USA yet, but what I see by the news, I follow it a lot, so I see that the racism in the States is different from the one from Brazil. The cultural thing, how do they perceive the experiences. And I'm living in Norway, so Scandinavians have a different type of racism. But the first thing about racism that I noticed in my experience, that everybody that is racist, they all seem to be justified to feel that way. They all have an explanation to have racist attitudes or racist feelings, everybody. In my opinion, this is not justified, but my experience first time, I just grew up. I am not totally black, I'm mixed. My grandfather from my mother's side was black. And my grandmother, my mother's side, was just like me, mixed. My mother is from Bahia, is a state in Brazil that is the biggest population of black people in Brazil. So I'm mixed, but I grew up with this feeling that it didn't make any difference my color. I didn't notice racism, really. I was having so much other problems that I didn't think about it. You know, I grew up with abusive parents and stuff like that. So I have so much other problems to worry about. But there is always this feeling that I'm inadequate. And I can talk about a little bit of sexism and that, about that I feel inadequate, the abuse. But when I got married first time, I felt from my part that I was in love and I wanted to make my husband happy and all that and anything, and he was also abusive, so anything that went wrong in a relationship, of course, was my fault. It's not his fault. He doesn't have any responsibility of what happened in a relationship. But one episode that was interesting, do we have toothpaste, and they have a picture of a blonde girl and then a girl that looked like me. We call in Brazil mulata. Mulata is a mix of black and white, a little fair skinner black person. So mulatto in the same box, in a toothpaste. And I said, and I was really a child then, a real child. I was like 15 years old. I didn't know better in life, you know. I thought that being beautiful is really what matters for a woman, and there's really intrinsic common knowledge in Brazil, and still today I see a lot of Brazilian women that really worried about how do they look like. the appearance, that's the most important thing that they carry. So I used to be like that, and I was 15 years old, and I asked him, my ex-husband, what, do you think I'm beautiful just like these girls? And then he said something interesting, that first time I felt racism direct to me, that made me hurt. It was, he said, yeah, well, you are more beautiful than the mulatto girl, the brunette girl, but not more beautiful than a white one. So that made me think, this feeling, that first time that I can remember that someone being racist to me. For him, and a lot of people think that way, this is a there is a culture all over the world about that white people are more beautiful. There is no way, nothing I can do to be as beautiful as a white person. So that was interesting, and that in Brazil, that we are melting pot, is much more difficult to find a person that's pure white or pure black. Is more mixed. Oh, that's my idea, my perception. So then we moved to Norway, Scandinavian country. Lot of white people everywhere. Because I'm from Nordeste, in South Brazil, you have a lot of European immigration, so there's a lot of white people in South, but I wasn't living there. I live in Northeast. I lived in Northeast in Brazil, so it's more mixture, more people like me. So when I come here and I see all these white people, Iceland, Norway, so they have a difference. Yes, it's more xenophobic. It's more about people that come into the country to bring violence, people that come into the country to take money from the social services. That's the mascara used to be discriminated. But certainly I can feel a lot more racism here, and because I'm around white people, and the thing that's about racism for me that is more sneaky is that there's one thing. I am, if there is a Nordic person or a white person, they don't worry about so much having expectations, or they can just be free. They are free. They can just be themselves. They have liberty to do whatever they want. But as an immigrant or black person, or for any reasons, even people that are children of Norwegians, they always have this concept that I never heard before. Well, there is names to classify people by color, but here is immigrant children. If you're half Norwegian, you're half Norwegian, half whatever, half Norwegian, half Brazilian. If people feel on obligation to talk about that. You know, I'm half this, I'm half that. I don't see that much in America. What I see here in the news from America is African American or white American, but the people here are really divided by country. So that's the difference. And you see, once I was in a doctor place with my son, trying to get treatment for him, a psychologist, and then my son was mad at me. for some reason. I put him grounded, and he was mad at me. He had to be alone with the psychologist, talk what is his problem, what does he need to. Then my son's lashing out on me and said that I was short-tempered and he doesn't need any help. It's just that I am a bad mother. He was mad at me, I understand him. But when I came back, and then the psychologist was all mad about me, looking me a little strange. Then he said, yeah, I know the Brazilians, I hear about the Brazilians that they are short-tempered, they are kind of crazy. So that again felt painful. It's like already being discredited. Okay, kids are gonna be kids. I'm sure Norwegian kids also talk bad about their parents once in a while. But then he talked about me as being Brazilian. That's why am I crazy. Of course, who goes to the psychologist and don't have any problems, right? But that hurt. So that's one of the things that can be sudden, but also they can be very hurtful. So yeah, here in Norway, a lot of talk about that people have to change their names. They make it easy for immigrants to change their name to a Norwegian name, a Scandinavian name, so they can be called on interviews. So they make the laws all the time to make it better for people, but it also shows that you have the need to do this kind of laws, you know. It shows how the people are, you know. Not all Norwegians, of course. I encounter everywhere. This racism is not exclusive here, and you can encounter people like that everywhere. But that's my experience. I want to share it. But the real thing that I think is very sneaky, I want to go back, I went all over like always, is that it's amazing how the white people can just be themselves and have free, but the immigrants, the black people, they have to always show that they are better, they have to be excellent, they have to always be. Every time I talk to people that are from immigrants and they are doing well, and they talk about that they don't have much episodes of racism or discrimination, they are, at the same time, they have this reflex when we talk about this issue, that I am part of the society, I'm doing my job, learning the language, I do everything to be integrated. It's like a kind of reflex. So when you talk about this, it's the first thing that comes out of their mouth. This is like an abusive situation. It's like a reflex. You are trying to excuse them and excuse your abuser, excuse themselves. So this is a symptom of that this person notices and her body reacts to the racism. So that's a little bit of my experience with this issue. It's a very hard issue, and I hope I don't hurt anyone by talking about my experience. I just feel that it's important to talk about it, what it is in your heart. And a lot of people out there that are feeling these feelings, and I want to let you all know, if I can survive and I can live, or I am productive in a society here, even with no much education, so you can know too. I've been able to learn the Norwegian, I've been able to get all the help my son needs, my family needs, and if I can do it, you can too. And in comparison to Brazil, Norway is a fair country, is the best. It's the best, one of the best country in the world. So I hope you will all be happy out there, and try to win. you can live a happy and fulfilling life even though you live in a world that has a lot of discrimination and racism. So that's all for today. Beijinhos.